The night shift at Daejeon Radio Observatory was usually quiet. Dr. Do-Young Kim liked it that way. The soft hum of computers and the gentle whirring of the massive radio telescope above made him feel at peace. Tonight was his favorite kind of night. Clear skies, minimal interference, and a fresh cup of coffee on his desk. Do-Young adjusted his glasses and looked at the data streaming across his monitors. After 15 years of watching these screens, he knew what normal space noise looked like. This wasn't it. "That's strange," he muttered, leaning closer to the screen. The pattern kept repeating, not randomly, but in a way he had never seen before. He picked up his phone and called his colleague. "Hey, Newell. Yes, I know it's late, but you need to see this." Dr. Hay Newell Park arrived 20 minutes later, his gray hair messy and his jacket thrown on carelessly over his pajamas. He had been Do-Young's friend since college, and if Do-Young said something was important, it was important. "This better be good," Hay Newell said, dropping into the chair next to Do-Young. "My wife thinks I'm crazy for coming here at midnight." Do-Young pointed at the screen. "Look at this pattern. It's been repeating for the last hour." Newell squinted at the numbers. "Could be interference from a satellite." "I checked. No satellites in that sector. And look at the mathematical sequence. It's too complex to be random." The pattern flickered across the screen, peaks and valleys of radio waves that seemed to dance in a complicated but purposeful way. Both men watched in silence, their coffee growing cold beside them. The observatory door opened again, and Taiwan Lee walked in. He was young, fresh out of university, but he was one of the smartest research assistants they had ever hired. "Dr. Kim, the morning data reports are ready," and he stopped when he saw both scientists staring at the screen. "What's going on?" "Come look at this, Taiwan," Do-Young said, waving him over. "Tell me what you see." Taiwan set down his papers and leaned in, his young eyes scanning the data quickly. After a few minutes, he straightened up, his face pale. "That's not possible." "What isn't possible?" Hay Newell asked. "The pattern. It's not using standard math. Look at the spacing between these peaks." Taiwan grabbed a marker and started writing on the whiteboard. If it was human-made or natural, it would follow normal mathematical rules. But this, he drew a series of curves. "This is using something different, something we've never seen before." Do-Young felt his heart beat faster. In all his years of searching the stars, he had never seen anything like this. He reached for the phone again, this time calling the observatory director. Dr. Ji-Yun Kang arrived within an hour, her usual professional appearance somewhat rushed. The small observation room was now crowded with 4 people, all staring at screens and arguing about what they were seeing. "If it's not human and not natural, what is it?" Ji-Yun asked, her voice calm, but her eyes intense. "A message," Taiwan said simply, "but not for us." The room went quiet. Outside, the massive radio telescope continued its slow dance with the stars, picking up whispers from deep space. But now those whispers seemed to be saying something. "Explain," Ji-Yun said. Taiwan pointed to his calculations on the whiteboard. "The complexity of this signal. It's like someone wrote a letter using quantum physics and advanced mathematics we haven't even discovered yet. No human could have made this, and it's too precise to be natural space noise." "Then who was it meant for?" Hay Newell asked. "Someone more advanced than us," Do-Young said quietly. "A civilization that understands things we can only dream about." Ji-Yun walked to the window, looking up at the pre-dawn sky. As director, she knew what this could mean. If they were right, this would be the biggest discovery in human history. If they were wrong, they would look like fools. "We need to be sure," she said finally. "Run every test we can. Check for every possible natural or human explanation. And don't tell anyone outside this room." She turned to face them, her expression serious. "If this is what we think it is, we need to be absolutely certain before we tell the world." For the next week, the four of them worked in shifts, analyzing the signal from every possible angle. They'd brought in more computers, set up new monitoring equipment, and drank more coffee than they had in their entire lives. Taiwan practically lived in the observatory, his enthusiasm driving him to work long hours analyzing the pattern. Newell tried every known form of signal analysis, looking for any sign that this was something they could explain. But each test only confirmed what they had first suspected. This was something entirely new. Do Young spent hours staring at the pattern, trying to understand its structure. He had dreamed of finding alien life since he was a child, but now that it might be real, he felt overwhelmed. The signal seemed to mock them with its complexity, like a book written in a language they couldn't even begin to read. On the 8th day, Taiwan made a breakthrough. "Look at this," he called out, his voice echoing through the quiet observatory. The others rushed to his station. "I've been thinking about it wrong. We've all been thinking about it wrong. We've been trying to understand it using our math, our physics. But what if?" He pulled up a new program on his computer, one he had written himself. "What if we look at it like this?" The pattern transformed on the screen, the peaks and valleys reshaping themselves into something new. "It's beautiful," Jai-Yun whispered. The pattern now looked like a complex molecule, spinning and changing in 3 dimensions. It wasn't just mathematics. It was chemistry, biology, and physics all woven together in a way they had never imagined possible. "It's a language," Du Young said, understanding dawning on his face. "But not one meant for beings like us. It's meant for someone who sees the universe in a completely different way." Jai-Yun straightened up, her decision made. "Prepare a full report. Include everything we found. I'm calling an emergency meeting with the board of directors tomorrow morning." As the others rushed to compile their data, Du Young stayed at his station, watching the pattern continue its endless dance across his screen. Somewhere out there, someone was sending a message, never expecting that a group of humans in a small observatory in South Korea would be the ones to hear it. He thought about all the years he had spent looking up at the stars, wondering if anyone was out there. Now he knew the truth. Not only were we not alone, but we might have just stumbled into a conversation we weren't meant to hear. The question was, what were they going to do about it? As dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, the 4 scientists looked at each other, knowing that nothing would ever be the same. They had discovered something extraordinary, but this was just the beginning. The real challenge would be deciding what to do next. Do Young looked at his team. Newell with his messy hair and wrinkled clothes, Taiwan with his excited young face, and Jai-Yun with her determined expression. Together, they had made the discovery of a lifetime. Now they had to decide whether to keep listening to a conversation that wasn't meant for them, or to do something that might change the course of human history forever. The signal continued its steady pulse through space, carrying its mysterious message to unknown recipients. And in a small observatory in South Korea, 4 humans prepared to make a decision that would affect not just their own world, but possibly many others across the vast expanse of space. The first part of their journey was ending. The real adventure was about to begin. The board of directors meeting was tense. Jai-Yun Kang stood at the front of the conference room, showing slides of their discovery, while 7 serious-faced directors watched in silence. Behind her, Du Young Kim and his team waited nervously. "So you're telling us," the head director said slowly, "that you found an alien signal?" "Yes," Jai-Yun said firmly. "But it's more complicated than that. We believe this signal wasn't meant for humans to find." The room burst into loud discussion. Some directors looked excited, others worried, and a few seemed angry. Jai-Yun waited patiently for them to quiet down. "We need more help," she continued. "Specifically, we need Dr. Sun Mai Choi from the biology department." "A biologist?" one director asked. "Why do we need a biologist to study a space signal?" Taiwan stepped forward, his hands shaking slightly but his voice steady. "Because this signal isn't just mathematics. It's life." He showed them his latest analysis on the screen. The pattern twisted and moved like a living thing, its structure similar to complex molecules found in living creatures. Dr. Choi is the best biochemist in Korea, Jae-yun explained. We need her expertise to understand what we're seeing. After 2 hours of debate, the directors agreed. They would keep the discovery secret for now and bring in Dr. Choi. But they wanted results quickly. Dr. Sun-led Choi arrived the next day. She was shorter than Do-young expected, with kind eyes and quick movements. She went straight to work, studying the signals patterns with intense focus. "This is fascinating," she said after several hours. "These structures, they're like DNA, but far more complex. It's as if someone turned the building blocks of life into a language." The team worked day and night. They set up new computers to process the signals patterns. Sunma brought in special equipment from her lab to study the biological aspects of the code. Taiwan wrote new programs to help analyze the data. Days passed. The signal kept coming, its strange patterns filling their screens and their dreams. They made progress slowly, understanding small pieces at a time. "Look at this part," Sunmai said one evening, pointing to a section of the pattern. "It repeats every few hours, but each time it's slightly different. Like it's counting something, or warning about something," Hae-Newell added quietly. They were all tired. Empty coffee cups littered the desks, and the whiteboard was covered in calculations and diagrams. But none of them wanted to stop. They felt close to a breakthrough. It came on a rainy Tuesday morning. Taiwan had fallen asleep at his desk again, his computer still running analyses. The sound of his program beeping woke him up. "Everyone," he shouted, "fully awake now. Come here." The team rushed over. On his screen, part of the signal had been translated into something they could understand. "It's talking about entropy," Sunmai said, reading the patterns. "Universal entropy, the death of everything." "But look at this part," Do-young pointed. "These patterns, they're coordinates, star positions." They worked frantically, applying their new understanding to the rest of the signal. Slowly, a message began to emerge. "It's a warning," Jae-yun said finally. "Something is causing entropy to increase faster than it should. Whole galaxies are dying too quickly, and whoever sent this message is trying to find others who can help stop it." "But why use such a complex code?" Hae-Newell asked. "Why not make it simpler?" "Because they're not looking for simple help," Sunmai explained. "These patterns, they're asking for advanced quantum manipulation. Whoever they want to reach needs to understand things about the universe that humans haven't even discovered yet." The room went quiet as they realized what this meant. They had intercepted a message meant for an advanced civilization, one that could manipulate the basic forces of the universe itself. Next to them, humanity must seem like children playing with toys. "So what do we do?" Taiwan asked. "We can't help them. We don't have the technology they need." Do-young looked at the pattern, still dancing across the screen. "Maybe we can't help the way they want, but we might be able to help in a different way." Jae-yun understood what he was thinking. "You want to answer them?" "Yes," Do-young said. "Look at how we solved this. They were asking for quantum physics experts, but it took a team of different scientists working together to even understand their message. Maybe that's what they need. Not just advanced technology, but new ways of thinking." Sunmid nodded slowly. "In biology, sometimes the simplest organisms find solutions that more complex ones miss. Maybe that's what we could offer, a different perspective." "It's too dangerous," Hae-Newell argued. "We don't know who they are or what they might do if they find out about us." "They're asking for help," Taiwan said. "The whole universe is in danger. Can we really just ignore that?" Jae-yun walked to the window, watching the rain fall. The weight of their discovery pressed down on her shoulders. They had found something amazing, but now they had to decide what to do with it. "If we answer," she said slowly, "we reveal ourselves to whatever is out there. We show them where Earth is. We can't undo that. If we don't answer, Du Yum countered. We might be letting the universe die when we could have helped. The rain kept falling outside, matching the steady pulse of the signal on their screens. 5 humans stood in a room full of computers, trying to decide whether to answer a call that wasn't meant for them. We should vote, Jia said finally. This affects all of us. Maybe the whole human race. We need to decide together. They looked at each other, these 5 people who had stumbled onto something bigger than themselves. They had decoded a message meant for beings far more advanced than humans. Now they had to choose, stay silent and safe, or speak up and risk everything. One by one, they raised their hands. The vote was unanimous. Okay, Jia said, her voice firm. Let's write our reply. Let's tell them that humanity wants to help. As they began working on their response, the signal continued its endless broadcast across space. Soon, very soon, it would have an answer, just not the one it was expecting. The real question was, what would happen when they answered a call that wasn't meant for them? Writing a message to an advanced alien civilization was harder than anyone expected. The team sat in the observatory's main room, surrounded by computers and empty food containers, trying to figure out how to start. We can't just say, hello, Hey Newell said, rubbing his tired eyes. We need to show them we understand their message. Sun Li nodded, drawing complex molecules on the whiteboard. We should use their language, the biological patterns we found in their signal. But simpler, so they know we're still learning. Taiwan typed rapidly on his computer, converting their ideas into code. The young researcher hadn't slept properly in days, but his excitement kept him going. We can use the radio telescope to send the message in the same format they used, but we'll need more power. More power? Jia asked, looking up from her papers. Much more, Du Young explained. Our signal needs to reach as far as theirs did. We'll need help from other radio telescopes around the world. Jia stood up and began pacing, something she did when she was thinking hard. That means telling other countries about this. The directors won't like that. We don't have a choice, Du Young said quietly. One telescope isn't enough. We need the whole world's help. The next day, Jia called an emergency meeting with the board of directors. This time, she brought recordings of the signal and all their research. The meeting lasted 6 hours. Finally, the directors agreed. They would contact other major observatories around the world, but carefully. They would only tell them what they needed to know. Things moved quickly after that. Teams from radio telescopes in China, Australia, and Chile joined their project. Each new group brought fresh ideas and resources. Soon, scientists from 20 countries were working together, all focused on sending humanity's first message to an advanced civilization. It's amazing, Taiwan said one morning, watching new data flow in from telescopes around the world. A month ago, these observatories were competing with each other. Now they're all working together. Sun Li smiled, looking up from her microscope. She had been studying how to encode their message into the same biological patterns they had decoded. That's what we should tell them, how humans can work together when we need to. The message they created was simple but powerful. First, they showed that they understood the warning about entropy. Then they explained how humans solved problems, not with advanced quantum technology, but with creativity and teamwork. They included examples of human innovation, how we learned to fly without having wings, how we cured diseases by studying nature, how we built computers from simple materials. They showed how humans often found unexpected solutions to difficult problems. We're like the young species that could, Hey Newell joked as they reviewed their message. But everyone knew he was proud of what they had created. The day they planned to send the message, scientists gathered at radio telescopes all around the world. They had synchronized their equipment perfectly. They would only get one chance to do this right. In the Daejeon Observatory, the original team stood together, watching the final preparations. Jia looked at each of them. Du Young with his careful calculations, Hey Newell with his worried expressions, Taiwan with his endless energy, and Sunmai with her brilliant insights. Together, they had done something impossible. 10 minutes until transmission. A voice announced over their speakers. Similar announcements were being made at observatories across the globe. Are we really doing this? Hey Newell asked quietly. Are we really going to answer a message that wasn't meant for us? Yes, Jia said firmly. Because that's what humans do. We hear calls for help, and we answer them. The computers beeped, showing that all systems were ready. Around the world, massive radio telescopes pointed at the same spot in space, preparing to send humanity's message to the stars. 5 minutes. Do-young checked the calculations one last time. They had put everything they had into this message. Their science, their creativity, their hope. Now they would find out if it was enough. 1 minute. Sun Li held her breath. The biological codes she had helped create would soon be traveling through space, carrying humanity's voice to the stars. 30 seconds. Taiwan's fingers flew over his keyboard, making final adjustments to the transmission software. This was the moment he had dreamed of since he was a child. 10 seconds. Jia thought about everything that had led to this moment. All the late nights, all the discoveries, all the decisions. Whatever happened next, she knew they had done their best. Transmission starting. The computers hummed louder as power flowed through the systems. Around the world, radio telescopes worked together, combining their strength to send humanity's message into space. The message began with a simple pattern, the same one they had decoded from the alien signal. Then it changed, showing how humans had understood their warning. It showed examples of how Earth's creatures adapted to survive, how humans learned from nature to solve problems. The message continued, explaining how humans work together, how we shared knowledge, how we found new ways to overcome challenges. It showed that while we might not have advanced quantum technology, we had other strengths to offer. For 6 hours, radio telescopes around the world transmitted the message. Scientists watched their screens, hoping everything was working correctly. In Korea, the original team stayed at their stations, monitoring every second of the transmission. Finally, the last part of the message went out. A simple statement in the aliens' own mathematical biological language. We hear you. We want to help. We are humanity. When the transmission ended, the room was quiet. Nobody spoke for a long time. They had just done something that would change human history forever. They had answered a call that wasn't meant for them. Now what? Ta-One asked, breaking the silence. Now we wait, Du-young said, and hope they answer back. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in beautiful colors. The radio telescope stood silent again, its job done for now. Somewhere out there, humanity's message was traveling through space, carrying their voice to whoever had sent the original signal. They had no way of knowing if their message would be understood, or even if it would be welcomed. But they had done something remarkable. They had shown that humanity was ready to join a larger conversation. As night fell, the team stayed at their stations, watching their screens. They knew it might take days or even weeks to get a response, but they would be ready when it came. Because that's what humans do. We answer calls for help, even when they're not meant for us. And sometimes, that makes all the difference. 3 days after sending their message, nothing had changed at the Daejeon Observatory. The team took turns watching the monitors, but the only signals they received were the same morning messages they had first detected. Du-young sat at his usual station, checking the data for the 100th time that day. Behind him, Sunmai was asleep on the break room couch, while Ta-One played with the computer models of their message, trying to improve them. Maybe they didn't hear us, Hey Newell said, bringing coffee to his friend. Maybe our signal wasn't strong enough. Before Du-young could answer, every computer in the room started beeping at once. The screens filled with new patterns, more complex than anything they had seen before. Everyone up, Du-young shouted. They're responding. The team rushed to their stations. Jia arrived minutes later, having run from her office. They watched in amazement as the new signal filled their screens. It's different, Ta-1 said, his fingers flying over his keyboard. The pattern is similar to their warning message, but it's simpler, like they're trying to make it easier for us to understand. Sun Mei studied the biological components of the signal. They're adjusting their language for us. They understood that we're learning, and they're meeting us halfway. Suddenly, the main screen went black. Then, geometric shapes began appearing. Simple ones at first, then more complex. It was like a teacher starting with basic lessons. They're teaching us, Du Young whispered. They want to help us understand. For the next few hours, the alien signal continued its lesson. It showed them new ways to look at mathematics, biology, and quantum physics. The team worked frantically to record and understand everything. Then the signal changed again. The patterns shifted, forming into something new. On the main screen, a message appeared. This time in simple mathematical symbols they could understand easily. "We hear you, humans," Jia read aloud, translating the symbols. "You surprise us." The team looked at each other, hardly daring to breathe. The message continued. "We are the Quantum Collective. We did not expect a young species to understand our warning. But you did more than understand. You offered to help." New data streamed in, showing them images of distant galaxies. The images showed areas of darkness spreading, consuming stars and planets. "The entropy problem is worse than we thought," the message explained. "Many advanced civilizations are working to solve it, but we are all thinking the same way. Perhaps we need new ideas, different perspectives." "They want our help," Ta-1 said, his voice filled with wonder. "They'd really want our help." The message went on, explaining more about the Quantum Collective, a group of advanced civilizations working together to save the universe. They had technologies humans could barely imagine, but they had never considered that a less advanced species might have something to offer. "Your message showed us something important." The translation read, "You solve problems differently. You work together in ways we had not considered. Perhaps the universe needs this." Jia sat down heavily in her chair. "They're inviting us to join them, aren't they?" The next part of the message confirmed her guess. The Quantum Collective wanted to establish regular communication with Earth. They would share some of their knowledge with humans, while humans would share their unique ways of thinking and problem-solving. "But we must warn you," the message continued. "By joining this conversation, you enter a larger universe. There will be challenges and dangers. Are you ready for this?" The team looked at each other. They had started this journey by accident, discovering a signal that wasn't meant for them. Now they had a choice to make: stay safe in their quiet corner of the galaxy, or step into a bigger, more dangerous universe. "We should call the directors," Haynul said, "and the other observatories. The whole world needs to decide this." "No," Jia said firmly. "We answer first. The world will have time to decide what comes next. But right now, we tell them yes." Do Young smiled, remembering that first quiet night when he noticed this strange signal. "We answer them the same way we did before, as humans who want to help." They worked together to compose their reply, keeping it simple and direct. They used the new mathematical language the Quantum Collective had taught them, making sure their message was clear. "We are ready. Humanity accepts your invitation. We have much to learn, but we also have much to offer. Let us work together." They sent the message using their network of radio telescopes. This time, the response came quickly, a series of mathematical equations that would help them build better communication devices. "They're not wasting any time," Sun Mai said, already studying the equations. "They want to talk to us properly." Over the next few hours, more messages arrived. The Quantum Collective began sharing basic scientific knowledge, while asking questions about how humans approached problems. They seemed fascinated by human creativity and our ability to find unusual solutions. As the sun rose over the observatory, the team finally took a break. They stood together at the window, watching the morning light spread across the mountains. "Everything's going to change now," Todd One said quietly. Yes, Du-Yum agreed. But that's what humans do best. We adapt, we learn, and we help where we can. Jai-Yun looked at her team. The people who had changed human history forever just by being curious and willing to help. We answered a call that wasn't meant for us, she said. And because of that, we might help save the universe. Outside, the giant radio telescope turned slowly, tracking the signals from their new allies among the stars. Humanity had taken its first real step into the greater universe. They had much to learn, but they also had much to teach. Because sometimes the best help comes from unexpected places. Sometimes the most important voices are the ones that speak up even when they weren't asked. And sometimes answering a call that wasn't meant for you can change everything.